Hey guys, Stream Interact Veteran here, back with a quick little bit of a stream. I am just cleaning my gun again. My custom Ruger 1022. Here's the trigger assembly. It's going to be wiping off, cleaning things down. Charging handle. Pins. That's the bolt buffer, the red one. I'm using some of these cleaning wipe thingies. They're just like gauze pads almost. Oh, excuse me. I'm just going to be wiping things down with these red towels, obviously. Things I'm going to be using to clean with. Brass brush, obviously. A pick. Metal pick. I've already wiped this down, but that's the bolt. Ruger, obviously. The hardest part I find to clean is like by the ejector head there. Here's the upper receiver with the barrel already in it and still in it. I'm debating if I want to take that out though, because it's a little bit easier to clean down in here with the upper barrel off, or with the barrel off of the upper receiver. I might do that real quick. It's pretty simple to get that out of there. It takes a little bit of time, but I don't use my normal set of Allen keys because it's bulkier when you try to get close to the barrel. I just use a regular Allen key for that one. For cleaning the barrel, bore snake, gun oil, hops, and a bunch of these red shop towels. Once I think I get them loose enough down there, those two bolts right there that you see, that the heads are popping up through, I'll usually just do them by hand the rest of the way. Or at least try to, let's put it that way. They're pretty long bolts. Here's one. You can see that's how long they are. I think it only sticks into about there. If it's still in a little bit too far, I'll bring the Allen wrench back over and just, because you got to grip it with your hand, so it makes it a little pain in the ass. Sometimes you have to shake it a little bit just to get the damn thing to come out sometimes, because it binds a little. Because right now it's not in the tightest. I mean, the tolerances on this, I mean, as you can see, I'm wiggling it pretty good, but you know, the tolerances seem to be off a little. There we go. There's the other one, and this is what holds the barrel in with those two bolts. And all you do from here, oops, hold the camera, just twist it. First time you try to get this off, it's a real big pain in the ass. But it just, after that, it just twists right off. I usually just wipe the end down here. If I see a lot of carbon build up on that end, or in that groove, I'll wipe it off or use the brass brush there, brass bristle brush. Just wipe it down like that. I usually do the end just like this too. And it's usually good enough to get anything off the end of it. I mean, it's a brass brush, so you don't have to worry about the brass bristles on that brush to actually scratch anything. And then I usually wipe down the whole barrel. Some people use a coat of oil on it. I mean, if you just wipe it down and you haven't been out in the rain, or you haven't done anything disgusting with it, like dropped it in the mud or anything like that, you don't really need to. Another part you really need to pay attention to is the actual tip. You can see that ring around there. That's all black powder and crap from the rounds. I didn't fire as many last time I went up there. Normally I fire off anywhere between 300 to 400 rounds. I only did about 200 last time I went up there. Now, as you can see now, it's pretty clean looking for the most part. Might have to get some bore cleaner on here. I do got some of that, actually. I wasn't going to use any because I'm up in my room and I don't really want to smell that crap, but I'll use it. I mean, it's not a horrible smell, but it sticks around for quite a while. So it's kind of a pain. Welcome to the stream, whoever's watching. I don't know if I'll see any chat or not. But all I'm doing basically is just cleaning my gun. And it is a custom Ruger 1022 because this is the stock for my Ruger 1022. It's a full customized stock. That cheek riser raises up and down. The butt stock goes back and forth. I plan on getting more. I might get some stuff next month, but I don't know. I've been kind of leery because of the all the shipping issues people are having with companies and crap, which I understand it to an extent. Wow, man, damn. I wasn't expecting that much to come off of there. I think next month I gotta get more bore cleaner. I mean, if it's good enough to clean the bore, it should be fine on that, honestly. But anyways, it's not focusing like I want it to. It don't matter though. I am gonna run the bore snake through it, I guess, with a little bit of the cleaner on there, not much. Like I said, I don't want to be smelling this all day. And with a bore cleaner, if I turn you over this way, on this bore snake, here's the part that cleans it. It's got brass bristles on there. These two sections right here where my fingers are. The bore cleaner goes up here before it on this section. You can just drip a little bit on there. You don't need much. Just put it in a couple of the spots. And then kind of basically after that, you want to do that quickly. Clean it because I guess there's kerosene and crap in this bore cleaner stuff. So and when you're doing this, you always want to go in the travel of the bullet. So you got to start at this end with the bore snake and go that way towards the outer part of the barrel. I wouldn't suggest going the other way. That's what I was taught in the military, because of rifling, it can screw it up. I mean, it's brass, so it shouldn't, but I've always been taught not to do that, so I don't. And it just brass bristles in the cloth, so. Alright, at this point, when you got the bore snake dangling out the end, because this end's weighted, all you want to do is just pull it that way. And basically, you're just going to keep pulling it all the way through. Make sure you're not tangled on the end down there. And usually within 1 or 2 passes, it will be clean with this bore snake. Usually 1 pass. Yeah, like I said, like 1 pass and it's... Yeah, you can't see in it, but it's clean. But I'm going to do 1 more just to be on the safe side. I think next month I am going to get a custom bolt, because I've been getting a lot of issues with shells not ejecting properly, well, at least the cheaper bulk shells. CCI, I think I've only had, out of like maybe 600 rounds that I've shot of CCI Stingers, I think I've only had 1 that jammed up when injecting. And now that's clean, and you can put the bore snake away if you don't like the smell. And that is straight up clean there. I think I am going to put a little bit more and clean the end of that. Clean the end of the barrel. Yeah, I just want to clean the end here. Which nothing's coming off, that's what I thought. Because I ran the brass brush over it, but I wanted to make sure. But yeah, that's clean, so. So that's good there. And the ingredients on this thing here. The ingredients are ethyl alcohol, damn it, I can't talk today. Ethyl alcohol, kerosene, acetate, ammonium hydroxide, and some other stuff. But it's flammable, and it doesn't smell horrible, but it doesn't smell that great either. All right, now I'm gonna just go through and clean these. A lot of people just use these like quick and easy. They're like Q-tip adapters for the ramrod, and those are pretty cool. I like the idea of it. I might get some and review them, see how they clean. But they put the oil in there and then they just clean it that way. Which they usually use a cleaner, but I don't know. I don't think oil will clean. Which usually I'll just put like a few dots. I'll wait until I clean it a little bit better. I usually only put a few drops in there. Oh, wrong part. So you really have to focus down in this corner, and that's why I get the smaller end of that bristle brush in there. I can even put the big end in there and just kind of go like this. Just in case there's anything super hard in there. Yeah, it's pretty good. If I want to put a drop in there, I actually could. I need an actual... I want to get it like a spray cleaner. Because I don't know if you're supposed to use this in the actual frickin' stuff. Actually, you know what? Sorry you can't see what I'm cleaning right now, but I need it closer to me. I normally don't clean with this without having the window open, but because I'm going to smell this for the next couple hours, at least. I think after I'm done, though, I'm going to be putting the gun downstairs in the downstairs closet in the thingy there. That way maybe the smell will go out of the room. I've had the air conditioner on the last few days. It was like 85, 90 the other day here in where I live. It was like 80 to 90, somewhere around there anyways. But that's looking pretty good. Now I'm just going to kind of dry it out with another towel. Because I don't think you'd really want to leave that stuff in there after you clean it, because you want oil in there or dry lube or something. Which, since I'm up here, I'm not going to be spraying dry lube because you got to use that shit outside. And I'm not going to get sick using that crap. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. So we got that. I'm just gonna... normally what I do with this one is I take one of the trigger housing, I'll take it outside and I'll use the dry lube and soak the insides of this until all of the dust particulates and shit that's in there and leftover unfired gunpowder comes all out of it. But I'm gonna eventually get a new trigger new trigger assembly, because this one is like 5.5 pounds. The one I want to get is like a 1.5 pound. It's a big difference. At this point, I don't even care if I have to customize my gun thing a little bit, which is fine. I'm just gonna wipe this down. I'm not gonna clean it too much. To me, it just doesn't seem like it needs it every single time. Yeah, I'm gonna wipe off all this stuff. I mean, it's still got a bunch of dry lube in it. Yeah, if you had the Q-tip things, you could get in there a little bit more than what I'm doing, but like I said, it doesn't need to be 100% done every single time. Like right now in my room it's like 73, and I think it's 80 outside maybe, at the most. Probably not even 80, maybe 75. The only thing I will put oil on a little bit, besides in here in the upper receiver, is I'm going to drop some oil in on this thing here and on the bolt. I definitely suggest, if any of you guys got Ruger 1022 or any other gun that uses a bolt stop, get a polymer bolt stop. That's what this one is here. That's a polymer bolt stop. It makes it so much quieter. It's not metal on metal. And the biggest thing to worry about when you're doing metal on metal with that bolt stop is this is the hole for the bolt stop, that big hole above my finger, or thumb actually. And over time, with that bolt coming back, it's going to make that hole wider if you're hitting metal on metal. Because this is aluminum, I'm pretty sure. Actually, I can find out if it's aluminum real quick. Give me a second. Yep. There's a magnet on the end of this tape measure, and it's not sticking. So this is aluminum. And the thing to remember, aluminum's softer than steel. This, the bolt stop, the original, which is in this bag, I'll show you. The original is metal, steel. It's not aluminum. So over time, the bolt from shooting the gun is going to keep putting backwards force, hitting and hitting and hitting this. Steel. Steel versus aluminum. Steel will win. It's harder. That's why I suggest a polymer bolt stop. Because where this sits, and when it comes back after you firing, it's hit by this. And this is the bolt. It comes back and goes clank, and then goes forward. Over time, it's going to round that upper receiver big hole. The big hole, the upper hole right there. Over time it will round that, and it won't sit in, and it will rattle and create noise. So definitely, I would definitely suggest getting a polymer bolt stop. And as you can see, that's the bolt, metal, obviously steel, and the barrel steel. But the housing, the upper receiver, is not steel. This is aluminum. And this is a weak point. Another thing you can do is, if you don't want to buy these are pretty cheap, but some idiots will probably pay like $5-10 at most for one of these things. You can buy a bolt, like a plastic bolt, like a toilet, the one that keeps your lid on the toilet down, you know, the lid that you sit on in your toilet. Those kind of plastic bolts. You just sand it down or whatever to the exact same size as your bolt, and then you got your own. You don't even have to waste any money on it. Alright, what's left? Just a little bit of oiling and then putting everything back together. So first, and this is a really important step, by the way, when you put these back together, you have to, when you line this up, you're putting it back in the hole, okay? You want to make sure it's all level and in as far as it'll go. But the other major thing when you're putting this back on is when you put it on, it has to sit level like that, perpendicular to the other part. If it doesn't, like if it's off and it sits at an angle like that and you close it up anyways, yeah, and that's not good. So you kind of have to get it in right before you tighten down the bolts completely. I usually tighten them up by finger a little bit, and then I'll tighten them up the rest of the way with the Allen wrench, so that way you're not cross-threading stuff, because if it's too tight, you can get it like 95% of the way by hand. And if you can't get it that far in by hand, by finger tightening it, then you're cross-threading it. So you really got to be smart about putting it in there because that's aluminum housing. Aluminum will bend. You will strip out the threads in that aluminum housing. I'll show you what I mean here in a minute with it being crooked. Now, as you can see right here, that is not level and even, okay? That is. But if it's sitting off at an angle like that or whatever, you can't do that. It has to be level. It has to be nice and even. Because if you don't, then it's not going to line up properly. And I'll show you what won't line up properly here in a second. See, that's not quite straight. And you need that straight. And one way to test if it's straight, put your bolt back in. Which I don't think it is quite 100% straight. Another way to easily put it in, stick the bolt in there, kind of jam it in that little hole, the pin, and then adjust it from there. Because you're not going to have much room to move it at all when that pin's in there. I'm about to show you what it looks like when you're completely oh, okay, there should be a little resistance dummy. Alright. But basically, you can see that little notch, kinda. You can see this little notch down here. That little notch down here has to fit that pin that grabs and ejects the empty shell. So one way you can do it, put it in, push that bolt forward, and then you can't turn it as much, so you get it lined up nice and straight. Then you just tighten it down. Don't tighten too hard, because like I said, it's where those bolts are going in is aluminum. You can strip it, and then you'll need to buy an upper receiver. Just make it till it's snug, and that's it. Don't crank on it. For God's sakes, please don't crank on it. Alright. And for oiling, I'm going to use a few of these this time and put a very, very light coat on there and see if it makes any difference. About 3, maybe. 3 of these things. I'm just going to put some on there. Let it soak in a little bit so it's not going crazy. And then any place that's moving parts, like all in there, because the bolt slides in the top on the bolt itself. You could do the trigger assembly. I'm not going to today. Just put a light coating. So that just means rub it in there a little bit. You don't have to go crazy. As you can see, it's nice and wet in there now. It's glistening because that's the oil. That's all you need to do there. And then, wherever it went, my charging handle under here, because I felt it. The charging handle, after doing that, you want to put some on the spring itself. So, this is how you put it back in. You just put it through here, line it up with that little peg. And this one, I do drip some drops on there. Because that's what makes it you able to charge the gun a little easier, by putting a bunch of drops on this. You don't want a lot. And then you can just set the thing down and charge it a few times to get the oil moving around in there. Alright, after you do that, now the fun part. To get the bolt back in after you put some oil on it, let me put some oil on it first. This is the hardest part, but once you get it down, it's not that bad. To put the bolt back in, after oiling it, because you want to oil it, light coating everywhere. I might even sometimes put a little drop in that little spring right there, just so that'll stay lubricated well. Oops. Just in there, move this a little bit so the oil gets in there. Alright, now that's oiled up. What you want to do first is you're going to want to pull your charging handle back and hold it there. Using two hands works the best. And then hold it like this with your hand here, charging handle held back, as you can see. And then at this point, all that you want to do is put this in nose first into the hole, just like that. Put a little bit of pressure on the front and slowly wiggle it in until it sits in the correct spot, and then you got it in. And then if you want, wipe your hands off, obviously, because you probably got oil on them. I do wipe off the outside of the gun after I'm done. So we got all that done. I guess I can just put it back together because, like I said, I'm not going to be doing the trigger assembly. At this point, when you got the bolt back in, you want to put your polymer bolt buffer or just your bolt buffer in. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. I would highly suggest putting a polymer one in, like I said, but that's up to the individual. Damn it. Sometimes the polymer ones are a little bit of a pain in the ass. And if you notice it's becoming a pain in the ass, just push it back out and try again. Let me turn it the other way. And I'm hitting it with plastic, not with metal, even though it sounds like I am. Don't normally have this much issues with it, but it's being a bitch today. Go figure. Might have to put it in the other way. Sometimes the holes are a little bit different sized, so they kind of like have a pinch. Let's start from this side then. Yeah, I think that's what it was, because it goes in better on this side. Come on, bastard. I think this is the most difficulty I've had with this thing. Now it's giving me a pain in the ass. Come on. Bastard. Damn it. Normally not this much of an issue, but it's just pinching on me. It's being a bitch is what it's being. It's just the luck of the draw sometimes with these things. Well, figures, right? Great. Let me get something else here real quick to grab it. Lovely. That's why in my gun kit I always keep a freaking like a multi-tool, one of these things. sometimes these polymer bolt buffers are a pain in the ass. There, let's try it the other way around. Whoop. Crumble. I think what's giving me the issue is that one side was a little, got a little chip in it. I know it seems like it's a lot of hassle just for a polymer bolt buffer, but there we go. Got it. That's the most pain in the ass I've ever had with that damn thing. I don't know if it's absorbing the oil or what it's doing, but that was more of a pain in the ass than normal. After that, all you want to end up doing is putting your trigger assembly in. Sorry about that, I was having a brain fart. I am just gonna lube that up a little bit and that. Other than that, the rest of it's fine, especially for now. I usually like holding it like this and just putting it in that way, you know. That way it lines right up. And once you get it in, then you can just slide the other two little pins in. See, that's how that polymer one goes in sometimes. But like I said, I think it's absorbing the oils and shit. Okay, got both of these in with relative ease, and then you're all set. Get another somewhat clean rag. I usually wipe all the excess oil off the outside. Just so it's not crapping up my gun bag. If I want something a little bit more absorbent than this after I put it back together, or maybe even beforehand, I might do it here in a second. But I got the blue shop towels I like using too. These kind of shop towels, they're more absorbent. They clean up a little bit better than the other shit does. So I just wipe the rest of it down. I wipe the barrel down. So that's all set. And the only thing left is putting it back into the stock. Right here. Which this is pretty easy. This is like one of the easiest parts about it. All you do with this sometimes you might have to, if you dry fire your weapon, it's made for it. It's fine, like I just did. The advantage of dry firing the weapon is when you push the safety through, it won't go all the way and it will center itself. So that way when you put it in, you don't have to worry about trying to center that safety. So you just push it all the way back, down and in. And then the only last thing to do is this bolt here. Allen key. Don't over tighten this one either. It is in the barrel. I don't know, I haven't tested it, but I wouldn't think it is. It might be a steel spot there, but you still don't want to over tighten shit like that. Just tighten it and then tighten it just a little bit more. No more than like a quarter turn at most. And then you're basically done if you wanted to put it away. I like to see how it sounds. You see how quiet mine is when I charge it? It's because of that polymer bolt buffer. It'd be quite a bit louder with the standard buffer in there, the standard bolt buffer. But as you see, you get a little bit of clink because it comes back up here with metal on metal, but not back here. If you're curious, I've showed it like a couple times, but I'll do it again. I usually like wiping it off anyways. This is the scope I use. Center point. I think it's 6 by 20 by 50. 50 is the front scope piece. It's pretty damn big. Lighted optics for the thing there. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but as you see, it turns red in there. It lights up the crosshairs. You can go red or you can go green. You can see the green a little bit in there, and that's red. You can make the green brighter if you turn it to the brightest setting, which is this one. Which, being it with that light on and the thing, you can't see it as well. There we go. You can see it in there though. But that's a scope. It's a pretty good scope for being a Walmart version scope. I'm not gonna lie, it's nothing like a Nikon or, you know, Bushnell or anything like that. This is just a cheapy Walmart one. I like wiping that down. I wipe down my whole plastic stock. If you're curious on the branding for the stock, don't know if you can read it, but it's Archangel. Yeah, right there, Archangel. Yeah, I did shoot this the other day, 2 days ago. Haven't cleaned it yet, but I'm cleaning it now because I wanted to. Gives me something to do besides sit around the house and doing nothing. I am beginning barrel, but I think the first thing I want to get, like I said, is a new. I might even get an upper receiver. I might replace the whole fucking gun, to tell you the truth. Clean the rail a little bit. I don't think it really needs it, but I'm going to brush it off on each side anyways. Another cool thing about this gun is too, well, not really the gun as much, but the stock. Underneath this, the handle here, I'll show you. If I want to put anything else for a dovetail, like a laser scope or a handle, I can put it right on here without an issue. Then the handle just sits, goes right back on. I like that a lot. Okay. I don't know how often I'm going to be doing these live cleanings. I don't think too many people are actually going to watch it, but that's alright. I'm doing it because I feel like it. Yeah, excuse me. But that's my gun all cleaned up. This doesn't really get much dirty. But I do like wiping it down a little bit. The scope. There's really not much to it, but that's okay. Alright guys, I'm Streaming Iraq War Veteran, and hope to see you again soon. Have a good one, guys.